In 1981, a 12-year-old boy from California got his first guitar as a gift from his Aunt Susie. By 15, he's getting lessons from shred master Paul Gilbert, and by 31, he would find himself touring with Guns N' Roses. This is the story of guitar legend Buckethead. Brian Patrick Caroll was a shy kid growing up in a Southern California suburb. Youngest of 5 siblings, he spent most of his time in his room with books, games, and toys. He began playing guitar at age 12 when Aunt Susie gifted him his first guitar for his birthday, and got his first lessons from an old man down the road. He said he became serious a year later after moving from Huntington Beach to Claremont. He got lessons from various teachers at a local music store, and eventually would get lessons from an 18-year-old Paul Gilbert, who was a guitar master himself, later playing in Racer X and Mr. Big.
Buckethead was a student of mine when I was about 18 years old, and I think he was around 15. It was pre-bucket. He didn't have the bucket yet. And he had a natural, really fast kind of twitch in a good way, like a useful twitch, that he could just sort of get that going, and he was into it.
The Buckethead persona idea came to him after watching 1988 horror film Halloween 4. That day he went out and bought a Michael Myers-style white mask, and later that evening he was eating deli chicken from a bucket. That's right, it was not a KFC bucket originally. He finished eating the chicken, put the Michael Myers mask on, and the bucket on his head, and looked in the mirror and said, "Buckethead. That's Buckethead right there. It was just one of those things. After that, I wanted to be that thing all the time." He entered a home recording of his song Brazos into a Guitar Player magazine contest in 1988. It didn't win, but was a runner-up, with editors writing, "An astonishingly skilled guitarist and bassist. He demonstrates post-Paul Gilbert speed and accuracy filtered through very kinky harmonic sensibilities. His psychotronic and demonic edge is very far removed from the cliches of classical metal and rock." Later that song would be released on the Deli Creeps demo tape, which was a strange but interesting band Bucket was in for a few years, with Maximum Bob on vocals and Pinchface on drums. They were definitely really weird with Maximum Bob's crazy vocals, but also very cool with Bucket's face-melting solos. Many of these old Deli Creep songs would later be repurposed on Buckethead's solo records. Now I'd like to talk about Praxis. Bill Laswell was this cat that wanted to put together this experimental supergroup. His first release was in 1984, but Buckethead wasn't there yet. So in 1992, he recruited Buckethead, Bootsy Collins on bass, Brain on drums, and Bernie Worrell on keys. And one heck of a supergroup that was. That same year, they made their first album, Transmutation, and it was very well received. Later on, Buckethead became really interested with the idea of alchemy. And in a very rare instance of him speaking publicly, he said this about transmutation.
Where did your interest in alchemy come from?
I was asked to play on a record, and it was called Praxis Transmutation, and it was with Bill Laswell produced it, and it was his idea. And now that I look back on it, I think he was doing an alchemical experiment, like he brought Bootsy and Brain and me and Bernie Worrell. I hadn't ever really heard of that. So once the album was out and he called it Praxis Transmutation, and I was like, well, what is that, So that's when I first heard of it. And then at that time, I would all I could think of was like Frankenstein's Laboratory.
Very interesting indeed. I'll leave a link in the pinned comment to that full video if you want to hear Buckethead speak more on that. I highly recommend it, it's very cool. In mid-1993, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were without a lead guitarist and put an ad in the newspaper for an audition, and Buckethead actually showed up and gave it a try. Even though the Red Hot Chili Peppers were pretty famous at this point, Bucket told Anthony Kiedis that he actually hadn't heard any of their songs. Kiedis later wrote about the audition in his 2004 autobiography, saying, "We auditioned this guy called Buckethead. He would play his whole set with a KFC bucket on his head while encased in a chicken coop." Bassist Flea also mentioned him, saying he seemed sweet and normal, and that he came in playing all this fast, crazy stuff with a lot of effects. That would be great, but we needed someone who could also kick a groove. If you've heard much of Buckethead, you know he can also kick a groove. I think he was just too good for them, really. After this, he released a couple solo albums, including Giant Robot, with many guest appearances like Iggy Pop and Bill Moseley, known from Texas Chainsaw Massacre and many other horror movies, which if you didn't already know, Bucket is a huge horror fan. And I think it was around this time in the late 90s that people were really starting to recognize Bucket's insane skill and innovation. I mean, he was playing like no one had ever seen before. And one of the people that picked up on this was Axl Rose. Axl first heard of Buckethead from his 1999 album Monsters and Robots. So in November of '99, Axl called up Bucket and invited him to his house for a Christmas party. Obviously, Bucket knew Axl wanted him to join the band, and Bucket was initially apprehensive, saying it just wasn't really his thing. But when Bucket got there, Axl had a gift for him. It was a very rare Leatherface doll. When Bucket first saw it, he thought it was the similar but not as rare Michael Myers doll, because they have similar packaging. But when he realized it was the super rare Leatherface, he later told MTV he took it as a sign and that Axl must somehow know me. So in March 2000, Buckethead had officially joined GNR. They played their first couple of shows in Las Vegas and Brazil, and then scheduled and canceled a European tour, and then scheduled and canceled a European tour again. They canceled a lot of shows in those days and took quite a while making the Chinese Democracy album. But it was a well-acclaimed album, and the solo on There Was a Time was listed on several publications as one of the best solos of the decade. Buckethead would understandably leave Guns N' Roses for good after a while, and really start to focus on his solo career, and release tons of albums and Pikes. But before we get into that, I've got one more audition to talk about, this time with the Prince of Darkness himself. So Buckethead was playing with Primus, so Ozzy saw him there and wanted him in his band. He tried him out, but Ozzy wanted him to ditch the bucket and just be himself. Buckethead's like, "Nah man, this is who I am." Oz also called him by his real name, Brian, and Bucket said, "No one calls me Brian except my mother." Ozzy said, "Pretend I'm your mom then." I haven't even gotten out of the room and I'm already playing mind games with the guy. What happens if one day he's gone and there's a note saying I've been beamed up? Don't get me wrong, he's a great player. He plays like a motherfucker. So they didn't work out. But anyway, Buckethead started touring as a solo artist and putting out albums most people know him from today, like Enter the Chicken, Crime Slunk Scene, and Albino Slug, gaining him lots of popularity and even being featured in Guitar Hero 2. In 2011, he started focusing on his Pike series. Pike meaning just a short album, could be one song that lasts 30 minutes long, or a few songs amounting to 10 to 20 minutes. Buckethead would put out loads of Pikes over the years. In 2015 alone, he released 118, and 119 in 2023. As of today, recording this in 2026, he has 810 total Pikes. He's dedicated many of his albums and Pikes to people he loves over the years, like Colma for his mom when she was going through colon cancer, and Hold Me Forever for his mom when she passed away, and Pike 13 to his dad when he passed away, and many, many more. Bucket has played all kinds of different genres, from very chill acoustic songs to heavy metal shred albums. He plays more dynamically and emotionally than probably anyone I've heard, and this is why I think he is one of the GOATs. His music can take you back to when you were a kid, take you on an emotional journey, and just make you feel like everything's going to be alright. He talks about how music is a universal language that can bring us all together as one, and how his guitar is alive and his goal is to just get out of the way and let the music flow through. Now I could yap about Buckethead all day long, but I'm going to go ahead and end this by showing another quote from his Buckethead Pikes website. This is one of my favorites. "My hope and all our hope should be to look out for one another, whatever our beliefs are. That's why I love music. It can bring many diverse people together. Just playing under the stars in the mountains the other night, seeing kids and adults smile, there's no division. For me, what I love in music is it can bring people into their hearts and out of their heads, and in that way we can become one. Me saying this, I'm a flawed human with much to learn, but my experience, if I can get out of the way and music can come through, and I do believe it happens with many people together, it's a joy that is as real as anything. I'll always believe in music above anything else. It's my wish and should be all of our wishes to help kids get the opportunity to have the chance to learn an instrument."